Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's Caffeine for the Soul. And I don't know where this one's going to go. I just thought I'd open up a microphone and start talking. And what I wanted to talk about was how do the three principles help us in the face of a world gone mad? Now, one of the things that I've sort of come to see, just simply from the fact that I've been writing now for over 17 years on a daily and weekly basis, is when I write about something topical, like a mass shooting like happened in Vegas last week, or any of the countless acts of terror and horror that go on the planet in the course of any given month, I sometimes think to myself, boy, I should be a little careful here, because this is so topical it won't be evergreen. And then I sort of realized to my dismay that there's no conversation I've ever had about acts of terrorism, mass shootings, church bombings, that doesn't stay topical. And that in and of itself is is its own sort of set of just dark imaginings for me. But this isn't actually going to be a dark podcast, or at least it's not my intention for it to be, because what I wanted to explore is what are the, like, if the principles are so great. One of my first apprentices and now very good friend and colleague, Jamie Smart, did a series of talks years ago along the lines of, if the secret's so great, where's my Ferrari? If NLP is so great, show me the money. And I kind of, I'd almost call this, if the three principles are so great, why are people still killing each other? And there's a few things that I think actually answer that question. And the first is that the three principles, and if you don't know what the three principles are, I'll go into them a little bit here, but if you go to my website, michaelneill.org, and click on the basics, I kind of explain them in some detail. But essentially, the three principles are the three forces that are at play that shape our experience of life, that create our reality. And Sid Banks, the sort of guy who first articulated them this way, talked about them as universal mind, universal consciousness, and universal thought. And essentially, mind is the intelligence and energy behind all things. And consciousness is that which allows us to experience life as though it's really happening. And it informs the senses, it brings our thinking to life. And then thought is the creative force that literally creates everything that we see and hear and feel as we experience it inside our minds. Well, the three principles don't, in and of themselves, they work just as well in the mind of a killer as they do in my mind or your mind. They are making that killer's thinking seem real to them. And the truth is, we are all doing the best we can given the thinking we have that looks real to us. You or I may have a thought, boy, those people need to die. And we'll go, wow, I am in a foul mood. I need to drink less, get more sleep, whatever it is that's going on for me. To somebody who doesn't have that level of thought recognition, they have the thought, those people need to die, and go, okay. So one thing that an understanding of the three principles does for us is it increases our level of thought recognition. We're less likely to believe everything we think. We're more likely to think again, to have some perspective on the thoughts that come through our head, to realize that just because a thought is in your head doesn't mean it's your thought and doesn't mean you have to act on it. Now, a second thing that an understanding the principles does is it makes it easier for us to access this deeper intelligence of mind. Not my mind or your mind, which is sort of another way for almost talking about the brain and the sum total of thoughts we have had throughout a lifetime and experiences we've had throughout our lifetime, but an impersonal intelligence, an innate intelligence that runs through us at a deeper level. You could call it your innate wisdom. It's the source of your common sense. It's that which allows you to think again. It's that which allows you to not get so caught up in your version of reality as to forget that we're all living in our own personal versions of reality. We're all living in separate realities, which is why logic is not, in most cases, an effective tool of persuasion. If I'm in my reality, my logic holds sway, even if in your reality my logic looks totally illogical. So that recognition of both separate realities, but this deeper intelligence that can guide us, it's an in-the-moment responsive intelligence. It doesn't tell you what to do 10 years from now. It doesn't tell you what to do next week. It can't tell you what to do if you find yourself in a mass shooting, if you find yourself around an act of terror. It doesn't tell you what to do if somebody you love finds themselves in it and you find yourself having to deal with that. But it will, if and when it happens. And the more you see that you don't need answers now to tomorrow's problems, that the very thing in us that allows us to respond far better than we think we should is only and always available to us in the moment. When we need it, it will be there. It allows us to relax into that more, to not worry about what ifs in the same way. And one thing that you'll always see around any act of mass murder, of terror, of hateful crime, is it seems to bring out the best in many of the people around it. I remember after the church shooting in Charleston last year, being amazed as one congregation member after another got up to make a statement to the judge before the trial, forgiving the shooter. Now, many of them were very clear of the fact that they were not okay with it, that they did not feel he should go unpunished, but simply that they could see his innocence. And that's such a loaded term for a lot of people. But all I mean by innocence is that given the thinking he had that looked real to him, what he did made perfect sense in his reality. And that's why the most powerful tool we have as human beings is our capacity to understand our own minds at a deeper level. Because when we can see that thought is not reality, but that reality, with a capital R, is far bigger than anything our little minds can hold. But we can know that, and if we do, we're less inclined to act on every thought that comes through our head. I've got one more thought I want to put in. Part of the power of understanding the principles is that it allows us to see the importance of where we're coming from as much or more as what we do. So almost every response to any act of terror, any act of violence is, what do we do? But if that question is asked from our own fear, from our own insecurity, from the most primitive part of our mind, then the answers are going to be tinged with that. It's all fruit of the poisonous tree. And that's why so many responses to violence are violent. Or some responses to violence are Disney peace. And what I mean by Disney peace is, gee, couldn't we all just get along? But if we can touch that deeper place inside ourselves, if we can get our insecure thinking out of the way long enough for something new to come through, then whatever actions occur to us from that deeper place will inevitably do more for peace, do more for good, do more for the planet than the best ideas we can come up with from the worst parts of our own mind. I hope you found this helpful. It's far from definitive, and it's far from the answer. But hopefully it will go some way towards pointing you towards where the answers will be found, and towards that part of yourself that knows that you will be okay, and that we all can be okay, and that there is hope for a better future. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you soon.